Okay, have you ever really stopped to think about time? I don't just mean what time is it. I mean, where does time itself begin? How do we find a day zero for all of history, both past and future? Well, let's figure it out. To measure anything, you need a starting point, right? A zero on the ruler. But for time, that turns out to be a surprisingly tricky question. Where do you even begin counting? I mean, we could just try using now as our starting point. If I say, let's meet in an hour, that works perfectly. The problem is, now is a constantly moving target. For a system that's going to work for everyone, everywhere, we need a fixed starting point, a real anchor in time. So, if we need a universal starting point, let's think big, like really, really big. What's the ultimate day zero for the entire universe? Well, the most natural, scientific answer seems pretty obvious. The Big Bang. It's the beginning of everything we know. It's the ultimate origin story. So, problem solved, right? Well, from a pure physics perspective, it's the perfect origin. It's the one single event that kicked everything off. For cosmologists who are charting the history of the entire cosmos, measuring time in seconds since the Big Bang makes total sense. And it gives us this enormous but scientifically valid number. But what about for, say, scheduling a coffee meeting? For that, this giant cosmic number isn't quite good enough. We'd need to know it with an absolutely incredible amount of precision. To get the timing right down to a single second, we'd need this much precision. And we just don't know the age of the universe that accurately. So, for planning our daily lives, the cosmic clock is basically out. So, what's the alternative? Well, humanity came up with a much more practical solution, a system that we can all actually use. And it all boils down to a pretty simple three-step process. First, we all just agree on a specific historical day to call day zero. It's arbitrary, but it's shared. Then we count the years since that day. And finally, we count the days within each year. Simple, right? Now, to make this whole system work, we invented two ingenious tools that you use every single day: the calendar and the clock. The calendar's job is straightforward. It's just a tool for keeping a running tally of how many days have passed since that day zero we all chose. And here's the really fascinating part. Our day zero is a cultural agreement. Different cultures chose different starting points. And that's why we have so many different calendars: Gregorian, Hebrew, Islamic, you name it. Each one is counting from a different significant event. Each calendar is telling its own unique story, starting from a moment that defined a people. But a calendar only gets you to the right day. For anything more precise than that, you need a clock. Its job is to take a single day and chop it up into smaller, manageable, and really precise units, like hours, minutes, and seconds. We even came up with a pretty clever trick for dividing the day. AM, or ante meridiem, just means before midday and it counts from midnight. PM, post meridiem, means after midday, counting from noon. It's just a simple and elegant way to organize our 24 hours. So, when you put the calendar and the clock together, you get something incredibly powerful. You get a system for creating a record of when things happen, which makes both the past and the future totally measurable. And that's really the crucial point of this whole system. Placing any event on our shared timeline, whether it's in the past or in the future, requires a record of it, a historical document, a birth certificate, even scientific evidence that can be anchored to a specific date and time. Think about it like this. Your birth certificate is a record. It's a fixed point in the past. We know where we are today, so we can subtract to find out how old you are, or we can add to schedule an appointment in the future. It all just comes down to having that fixed record to measure from. So our whole system of time is this brilliant human invention, really just a shared story that we all agree on. But that leaves us with one last kind of mind-bending question. How do we date events that happened millions of years before our calendars, before our story even began? Now, that's a topic for another explainer.